Hello. This is going to be the latest edition of Tag Team Point of View, and in this case, this point of view was inspired by YouTube commenter Daddy Scott 3000, who basically mentioned something about there being a Panther in Marvel that might work better if they were feral, or actually his expression was a were-panther. And I remember writing back that that sounded like a pretty good idea, as long as they could make them not look too much like the Beast. And the more I thought about it, the more I was kind of like, making him a were-panther might not be the best way to go, because I don't think you could do it successfully and not have him look like the Beast. I think that kind of comparison would always be made, because depending on who draws the Beast, he already looks cat-like, so you might have something going on where there's more confusion than there is clarification. However, I still think that the Panther needs to have an upgrade. And more than the Panther having an upgrade, I think Wakanda needs an upgrade. Now, Jonathan Mayberry, who wrote Doom War, I thought he wrote the Black Panther, although technically he wasn't the Black Panther in that comic. But I thought he wrote the Black Panther the best I've ever seen him written since Don McGregor wrote him back in the day with Jungle Action. The only caveat to that is that as a result of his finishing that story, vibranium had been removed for all intents and purposes from Wakanda. Now, I imagine the metal is still there, but all the properties that made it special is gone. And I know a lot of people had problems with that, because that was the one identifying thing outside of the Panther himself that made Wakanda, that kind of put Wakanda on the map. However, with what Jonathan Mayberry had done, I look at it as possibly being a blessing in disguise. And I say that because when talk of Wakanda had been brought up in the past, it's always been talked about that this place was sort of hidden from Africa, although it was a part of it, but also that it was technologically advanced. And I would imagine that while the vibranium would certainly be an ingredient to why it was technologically advanced, it couldn't be the only ingredient. So any writer worth his weight in salt should be able to come up with something to suggest that there are a number of technological advances that Wakanda has that perhaps the world at large doesn't even know about yet. Whether it's metals, whether it's energies, whether it's bringing it back to the Panther himself, though I wouldn't go the Feral Panther route, I wouldn't go the Were Panther route, I definitely think T'Challa needs an upgrade. Now, Marvel has touched on it a time or two, you know, having briefly put T'Challa in armor, much like say Iron Man, and I would gather that his armor was probably made of vibranium. But something like that takes the Panther to be too far away from what he should naturally be, which is a creature, a hero of stealth, when it calls for it, of a certain kind of savageness. Me personally, what I would like to see happen, among other things, is in the design of his uniform, I would change his mask more into an almost mesh look, like if you know how fencers, how their masks look. There'd be no eye slits or anything like that, but it would be a matter of the technology would be as such that he could see clearly out of it, but people couldn't see, you know, his face. And you wouldn't have those outlines that would show, like, you know, almost like white lights depicting his eyes. There'd be no slits in the costume at all. Also, I would perhaps consider giving him some sort of ocular implants. That the closest I could describe them would be how you would think of Predator with its helmet, with its visor, that's able to pick up different things on the spectral plane, so that you can see things in infrared and ultraviolet and everything like that. I would also give him what I would consider to be a panther tail, and by that I don't mean anything along the lines of, say, a scorpion who has a tail built into his costume. I'm talking about something more like it'd be more like a whip. The closest thing I can compare it to would be sort of like Matt Murdock's Billy Club, but not. You know, essentially what this would be, because of the Wakandan technology, it would work as a whip, but it would also retract to the point where it would be almost like a baton. So it would go from very flexible to very unyielding, depending on its use. Also have it to be where it can, how do I put it? It could emit certain kind of discharges, like maybe he holds the tail in such a way that when he cracks it, it emits an electrical discharge, or he holds it in a certain way when he cracks it, it's sort of like a miniature sonic boom, or something along those lines. Not too much unlike what Whiplash was able to do in Iron Man. Also, the suit itself, I would ditch the cape, but I would make the suit perhaps a little more bullet resistant. You know, able to take small caliber, at least small caliber type abuse. Whereas every time he's in a fight with somebody, it's not always ripping on them. And not to take too big a bite out of, say, the whole Wolverine thing, but maybe make where instead of his fingers having those claws on the gloves, maybe have something where it's more his knuckles that have the claws. But anyway, you know, it's kind of basically just a work in progress. But anyway, yeah, I still want to see the Black Panther kind of advance beyond basically being just you know, someone that's basically all fists and feet, and actually have him do something that's a little more technologically sound, and you know, just have him mix it up a bit more in the Marvel Universe. Also, I would like to see a team, not necessarily the Avengers, but I would like to see a team based in Wakanda, which could be led and perhaps co-led by the Black Panther and Storm. So anyway, you know, those are my thoughts as they stand now. I'm hoping to get a response from my point of view tag team partner, Ed 2962. You know, once this is released, hopefully in the next day or two, Ed might have some thoughts on this subject. But anyway, until next time, thank you for listening, and night out.